So most of our surveyors will end up working in environments where they do not have great signal. Sometimes that might be in a Faraday cage, so metal environment like a lift shaft or a lift itself, or even sometimes crazy places like underneath reservoirs working on whatever sort of systems they have underneath there. And so because of this, offline working is a must. So there are some pros and cons to offline working, and generally the pros outweigh the cons. The pros are you can do your work, and the cons are you might end up operating for a long period of time without having your data synced. So you need a little bit of assurance there that things are going to work. And so we've spent a lot of time on our product to make sure that working offline is stable and straightforward. And generally speaking, most of our customers, most of our users don't even notice when they're going between offline and online. So there are actually a few advantages to being able to reliably work offline. For example, you could use a phone or a tablet that doesn't have a data plan, and that can save you a few quid, especially when you think about how many photos you might be uploading every day. So in these scenarios, you just connect to Wi-Fi when you get back to the office or when you're at McDonald's and you're using their Wi-Fi there. So there are even environments where it will be a requirement not to connect to the internet, such as high security areas like prisons or defense sites and nuclear power plants and other sort of complicated factories where they have strict requirements for what is happening on site. The other big advantage is an extension of your battery life. So your phone just generally does not have to work nearly as hard when it's not having to upload data or download data from the internet. But there are some things that you want to be thinking about here. So this is just general for any software. If you're offline for a long period of time, when you do reconnect, there might be a lot of data, a lot of media, images, this sort of thing to upload. So oftentimes we find that our users will purposefully go into airplane mode and work offline in that way, knowing that when they connect, they're going to connect to Wi-Fi to get all those large files uploaded. So there are some caveats, generally speaking. If you're wanting to do a survey and you need to look at historical data, you need to make sure that data is on your phone already before you go offline. So generally that would just be a case of going somewhere where you have good signal and making sure that data is available. And the other thing, obviously, before that even would be to make sure you're logged in correctly. And maybe even if you're acting in multiple companies, you're logged in and you're on the correct company. When you're working offline, you need to be careful of a few things. So number one is if you're working offline for a long period of time, that comes with its own risks, not necessarily just with the software, but there are just generally other risks. For example, you may drop or lose your phone or tablet, and then you've kind of lost all that data. So you can think of being offline as kind of having an unsaved document. The longer you're working without pressing save, the more risky it gets. So generally speaking, we recommend working offline for as long as necessary, but then finding connectivity, whether through Wi-Fi or mobile data, and just making sure that data and all your photos have been synced back up. So if you're expecting to work offline for, say, weeks on end, you need a plan in place for getting connectivity in between being on site. Another thing to be careful of is before starting working offline for any period of time, just make sure you have enough storage space on your phone. Because if you're taking a lot of photos, you run out of storage space, that could be a problem. Generally speaking, after images have been uploaded, they get removed from your device. And so that clears up a bit of space for subsequent work. Now, obviously, there are times when you'll be working offline without realizing it, and that's just because you're coming in and out of connectivity. And you'll find that the app is just going to work as you'd expect. But generally speaking, it's always worthwhile making sure the jobs have loaded on your phone and any previous data, if you're using previous data, is available before you get started. And that's especially important when you are planning to work offline for a period of time. So just to summarize, the 𝗏𝗏 mobile app is designed to work offline. It is very resilient, but you should be careful to make sure that you've got your jobs loaded before you go on site. You don't stay offline for too long. Try and back up your data as soon as possible. And also just be careful not to drop or lose your phone. And finally, make sure you've got enough storage space to cater for any sort of online or offline environment you come across. I am David King. I'm one of the co-founders of 𝗏𝗏. I kind of do the software side of things, and we just hope that we've built something that is giving you value, that you're enjoying using, and that you're getting something out of these videos as well, regardless of whether you use our software or not. Goodbye.